A masculine man needs purpose more than he needs happiness. Happiness is often a trap. In our modern day and age, we think that seeking happiness is the end all and be all. Unfortunately, a lot of that happiness comes from fulfilling our desires. And unfortunately, desire is the cause of suffering. That's not what I said, that's what the Buddha said 2,500 years ago. So by indulging in those short-term pleasure, in that cheap dopamine, you might find pleasure, joy, and be happy for a moment. Those short-term pleasures are pain in disguise. When you have a purpose, you will struggle, you will have pain, you will have boredom. Some things that you need to do will seem tedious and hard to do, but you have to understand that it is part of the process. When you work out, when you start a business, when you pursue a career, when you learn a language, when you learn a martial art, when you box, whatever you choose to pursue, those are things that you will get better at through consistency and discipline, and doing things that you might not like, to things that might not release that cheap dopamine. It will release dopamine because doing hard things will release that beautiful dopamine that we all need. But unfortunately, most of us will choose that short-term cheap dopamine that is so easy to access, whether it's porn, whether it's chasing women, whether it's scrolling, TV, Netflix, drugs, alcohol, food, so on and forth. Those are very easy to access. That's why I call it cheap dopamine. That dopamine you get from pursuing your goal, from pursuing your calling, from having a mission, from having worthwhile goals, from building something up, take time, take doing hard things, take doing boring things. But that dopamine you get is real, is the only one you need, is the one that is the most important. Here is so easy to access. That's why you need a purpose, because if you don't have a purpose, either you don't have a why, a meaningful why in your life, that's how you can so easily fall into that seeking of happiness, because you have nothing to strive for. You have not a cause that you are willing to give, to put your life. You don't have a cause that you can put your soul into. Stephen Pressfield said that if a man does not really have a purpose, a meaningful why, he can so easily fall prey to all those short-term distractions and pleasure. And even Viktor Frankl, the author of The Man's Search for Meaning, also explained that a man needs work, a man needs a cause, a man needs something meaningful above him, outside of him, to give meaning to his life. And if he does not have that, he can so easily fall into the short-term distraction I just mentioned. But unfortunately, those short-term distraction and short-term pleasure are just pain disguised as pleasure, and it can so easily lead you to your demise, to depression, to apathy. Apathy is one of the worst vibrations you can feel. And if you are in a state of apathy, you are contented with your agony. You are slowly but surely dying, but you are complacent. Contentment and complacency is not the same thing. Complacency is when you are hurting, when you know you can do something about it, but you decide to not do so. Being contented is being contented with the beautiful things you already have in your life. It is not the same thing. You have to understand, a purpose is so much more important than happiness when it comes to being a masculine man. And interestingly enough, the more a man is on his calm, the more a man is on his path, the more a man finds his calling, the more a man can be authentic with himself and pursue the worthwhile goals he set for himself, the more he can feel free, the more he can do hard things, and the more he can find fulfillment in doing those hard things, those boring things, because he does not fall prey towards those short-term pleasures. Some of those short-term pleasures are good in moderation, but more importantly, he has a purpose that keeps him grounded, that keeps him self-actualized, and through that, he can actually find real peace and happiness. When you pursue goals that means a lot to a masculine man, like getting stronger, getting smarter, reading, meditation, contemplation, starting a business, to learn a language, pursuing a career, you can find fulfillment if those are the things that calls your authenticity out, things that make you stronger and you're happy to do so. You can find true fulfillment and true peace and true happiness and some level of freedom, especially through meditation. And that is what I want for all of you, for all of us. Thank you for listening. I'm Sebastien, your addiction recovery coach, and I'm here to help those of you who want to give up porn, desexualize your mind, and of course, other addictive compulsions like scrolling, alcohol, drugs, so on and forth. And I'm sure I can help. Links are in the description box below.